Hey, I'm Bree, and this is my sister Jules. I'm an English teacher.
And I'm on vacation. I'm on vacation.
And together we drink wine as we unpack the brilliant writing of the hit 90s sitcom Boy Meets World. Cheers.
Cheers!
What? What are we drinking?
We are drinking yet another Winc wine called Finke's Brut, a sparkling brut.
I haven't tried it yet. Let's do it.
What do you...
Awkward silence.
No, I want to hear your thoughts first.
The initial feeling is great, and then it just has all these Winc wines, man. They just have this like synthetic feel to me. There's something that I associate with Yellowtail and with all the other wines that we've had that have had a lot of like synthetic product in them to keep the shelf life. Like I think that's what I'm tasting at the end. It also kind of feels very like citrusy, which I don't know if I'm into, but then I like Greek wine and I feel like that's considered maybe citrusy, but I'm not sure. Anyway, I don't know what it is, but there's just a lingering taste I'm not into. What about you?
So I don't get that taste that you've been consistently having, but there is something about wines like this, champagnes, bruts, that just don't sit right with me. I think you've described it before as it kind of tasting like a foot or something. And
Toey.
yeah, and you know, I never turn down a champagne, especially at a celebration, because it's fancy. Sure, it's alcohol, but I don't ever crave that kind of wine. There's something about it that I just don't love. I don't think it's specific to this wine. I think it's just my opinion on bruts and champagnes and Proseccos.
Okay. I will admit, like Brut's champagnes, I like a cava for some reason. I don't know what it is about cava, but I'm into that. But Brut's and champagnes do give me headaches a little bit. You know how they'll use bad quality coffee for flavored coffee beans? You know how if you buy like a bag that's already like a hazelnut coffee and it's not sweetened, that's the flavor of the coffee bean, and they spray the beans in a flavoring so that when you make the coffee, it has it in there. Anyway, they do that with poor quality coffee beans to kind of like mask the poor quality of the bean. I'm wondering if they do that with bubbly wines and stuff, because they're like, the wine is kind of bad on its own, so let's distract the tongue by adding bubbles.
What makes it carbonated?
That is a process for Lee, and it actually is really interesting because the fermentation process does release gas. It releases CO2. And so you basically trap the CO2 in the wine rather than releasing it in order to create the bubbles.
Ah, okay. Yeah, I think I've discussed this on a previous podcast and I totally forgot.
Yeah.
That's got to change the flavors because like every other kind of wine, red, white, I will drink and most of the time enjoy, except for probably Riesling. But wines like this, I can't get behind.
I will say,
will I drink the whole bottle? Yes.
Yeah. The more I'm drinking this, the more I'm actually like, this is actually hitting, and I kind of like it, and I keep going back for it, which is good for them. Yay. Thanks. I kind of like it. But also, I had a glass of Taittinger. Do you know that brand, that champagne?
No, but that sounds extremely fancy.
It's fancy, and oh my God, it was so good. I have to say that if I'm going to have a glass of champagne, it's going to be Taittinger, and it's going to be phenomenal. So I just have very expensive taste in things. And
you really do. I don't think there's a single thing that you have poor taste in.
Oh, thank you. Take it as a compliment.
I wasn't exactly saying it.
I know you weren't. I'm taking it as one.
As we're talking about really expensive rents that we can't afford. Oh, thank you. That I have expensive taste.
No, this is a distinction I want to make. I fully am the person, though, that will find the thing in the shop that is the most expensive, but I won't know that it is, right? Like, and I'll recognize value in something even if it's not priced at an expensive. Like, I get really excited when I see something that I consider to be underpriced. Like, the value is clearly so much higher than what the seller the seller doesn't realize the value of the thing. I think I recognize value. It's not making me any money. I clearly need to start using that skill.
But you look at it and you go, "Hey."
I do. I'm like, ooh, that's like, I can just tell, like, the way I describe it to myself is like acrylic versus oil. Like I can tell when something is acrylic paint. And I don't mean literally, I mean metaphorically. Like for those who don't understand, like acrylic paint and oil paint is expensive and rich and just looks like a real, you look at a painting that's oil and you're like, oh, that's like a famous painting, or that's, expensive. And an acrylic painting generally looks like something that was painted by like a cartoonist on the beach in Puerto Rico. Like it just doesn't.
So specific.
It doesn't quite hit.
Yeah.
And so
not as rich. Rich is the right word. Luxurious. Rich. It's not like oil paint is very dense and rich.
It has like old money in it,
Yeah, absolutely.
Acrylic is like new money. And I can like tell when something is acrylic versus oil. That's like the way I say it in my head. I'm like, nah, that's acrylic.
Oil paint is so expensive.
It is so expensive.
I remember in college, I made a horrible choice of getting my friend a paint set because she was studying art in college and she was specifically working with acrylic, and she was so good. I was like, you should be working with oils. Like, I want to see you paint with oils.
Is this Nicole?
It's Ashley.
Oh.
She got a degree in art and psychology, I think.
So cool.
And I went to Michael's and I bought like a little box and I got like one of each color.
Of course it was expensive.
I don't know where I should have gone.
And Michael's is so overpriced.
Yeah. So
talk about quality and value.
Yeah. So I got a little box of paints. No, I got a box and then I picked out a paint. So each, I got maybe like 7 to 10 colors, some paintbrushes. $300 later.
No.
I was committing to the bit though.
Yeah.
But like I was in college. That was a lot of money.
That's a lot
to be
of money.
spending.
That's
I hope she used it.
That's like how much our parents pay. We're very lucky to be offered oil painting classes as kids, and like that's how much money our parents paid on those materials. Granted, I literally still have the oil paints that I bought in probably 2nd grade because if you're smart with the paint, you have to really like save it. And I mean, I'll probably cut all this, but like you have to, how like we would like scoop it and put it in the little balls.
Yeah, you only do a little bit. A lot of white though. You get a big white one, but then a small one for the others.
Big white one.
A big white one.
Big white poop would come out like a log.
Oh god.
No, but do you remember like scooping it and like putting it in the saran wrap? That's what I was trying to say.
Yes.
And you would put, like, a little ball to save.
You would save it, but really, like, yes, sure, you want to save it because you don't want to waste it, but you also, you know where I'm going. You want to save it because you were like, I'm never gonna match this color again. I need to save it.
I spent the entire session. I would do that. I'd spend like 40 minutes of my hour and 15-minute session or whatever we had just mixing the right color.
Yeah.
I'd be like, save it all.
Control S.
Just like diluting it with turpentine to make it last forever. All right. Okay, let's do it. Let's get into the episode. We watched incredibly, because I could not believe we were already on episode 5. Season 2, episode 5, entitled The Uninvited. Cory tries to fit in with the popular crowd. I thought this was a really well-written episode. Air date, October 21st, 1994. It was written by Susan Estelle Jansen, who has also written Killer Bees, Santa's Little Helper, and It's a Wonderful Night. It was directed by David Trainer. There were 19 million viewers. What were your first impressions?
I loved the whole back and forth at the beginning with Amy and Alan about getting older and getting hurt, because that is exactly how I feel right now. And and specifically in my relationship, I feel like we're always talking about how everything hurts and small movements hurt.
Oh my God.
And it was really funny. I loved it.
I was like, ooh, this is a little risque. I was surprised by how deep they went into the sex life of the parents. I was like,
know. They had some innuendos and really, really risque jokes. And then at the end too, I was like,
yeah. When she took off her robe, I was like,
know.
oh my
I was like,
God.
and I want that. Hot. I love it.
But I was like, ew. Like, if I was a kid watching it, I was probably like, like wide-eyed staring at the screen like, what?
Parents don't do that, do they? No. No, but our audience is older now.
Yeah, but they weren't at the time. Interesting. I wonder how I felt about that as a kid. I can't remember, but like, it's got to be weird because if you're watching the show through Cory's eyes, you should be like, ugh, when you see them talking that way, right? But if you're kind of into it as a kid, it's like, then you start thinking about your own parents and you're like, right? But then when Cory comes in and he's like, guys, it's not even dark yet, when like she's trying to get him off the couch and he's like grunting, I was like, oh my God, they really go there. Like,
yeah, they do.
Is that their relationship? That they all just like acknowledge that there's a sex life? Like,
yeah. Well, this is now the second time this season that they're acknowledging it, right? The first time was on the bed with the earring. But you know what? Even in season 1, they were pretty open, not as open as we are this episode, but open in that like they are, still very much into each other after all these years.
Right. See, I'm always going to think conspiracy theory, right? So I feel like this is the CIA. Like, remember when we talked about how the purpose for pushing the nuclear family narrative is to keep like the streets organized? I feel like the purpose for something like this is to inspire, older married couples that have maybe gotten a little lazy in their sex life and are thinking about ending the marriage or divorcing each other or finding people to have sex with on the side, to reinvest in their partnership and maybe take some of the shame away from getting vitamins or spicing things up, right? Like let's like encourage people not to feel any shame in that and actually to keep the nuclear family together, basically.
Yes, totally. CIA, yes. But to counter that, I will say that a lot of sitcoms prior had like the trope of like crotchety old couple that are always fighting with each other and like hate each other. Right. I feel like that has been kind of normal. So I feel like this show is trying to change it up where they're like, the parents are like younger, right, than you would expect for a sitcom couple to be. And they're actually like still in love. It's like it's very endearing and refreshing.
It really is. Because like weirdly, when I think back on like old TV shows and movies, it strikes me as like normal for there to be like a wife and a mistress. Not for the woman, just for the man in this heteronormative past that I'm imagining. But I don't know. I wonder if there's some sort of response to that in this, like, let's normalize being faithful and also like working on it, Yeah. Anyway, so we start off in the kitchen, and what we're getting at here is the scene is that Alan has all these magazines in his hand and he's like, why are they sending me these catalogs? And it's just him and Amy. And he's like, geriatric discount warehouse? I mean, isn't Victoria's Secret? What's new in life support? How did I get on this mailing list? And Amy asks like if he's sent away for something. And Alan says, well, maybe I sent away for some high potency vitamin E. And did you know what that was like immediately, or did you assume?
Oh, vitamin E? No, yeah. I didn't know. I had no idea until, context clues a little bit later. But I did not know that helps.
Yeah.
What is that traditionally for? Isn't that for like collagen and elastin?
High potency vitamin E for men as an antioxidant helps protect cells from damage caused by free radicals, supporting immune function, and potentially improving cardiovascular health and sperm health. It may offer benefits for skin health, reducing inflammation, and potentially aiding in wound healing. So it's kind of like an all-around cure-all for things, but yeah, it's good for the sperm.
Yeah, but potential benefits of vitamin E maybe improve blood circulation, which certainly can help
your skin for sure. Anything that improves your blood circulation is good for
sure. Sure, yeah.
That's why exercise is good.
Yeah. Interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
I guess maybe they couldn't be more specific maybe it would have been too much to be like, I bought Viagra.
Yeah. Oh no, they couldn't. That would be crazy though. Like it is still a kid's show. Like
Right. So vitamin E is a little bit like, yeah.
I very much am brainwashed by like our Catholic school upbringing, and for me, like sex is very taboo to talk about with kids, and yet I totally understand the positives of being really sex positive, helping kids navigate their sexual development, but like, to what extent? What's like a good boundary to set in terms of like you have a private life that's yours and I have a private life that's mine as like a parent and kid, I mean, versus like blurring those lines a little bit for the sake of like normalizing sex for the sake of their for the sake of their relationship with sex being positive and healthy.
I think the boundary can differ depending on who you're talking to. It gets more complicated if it's a teacher and student or a parent and kid. Avoiding it is never helpful. It would actually probably do more harm.
Yes. And I think that is definitely the approach that the writers of this show have taken. Like, we cannot avoid sex. That is not the way to go about dealing with teens. Like, you have to kind of you have to get in first almost, because they're going to start influencing each other and deciding their own rules around sex and their own, they're going to find the information somewhere that maybe is not a good place to find information,
Right.
So if you can
especially now,
get ahead of it,
absolutely. If you can get ahead of it, like there's no avoiding it at all. Like you might be delaying it, but that's only delaying your conversation with the person you need to have that conversation with. Like they're going to find out one way or another.
Right.
You might as well get ahead of it and kind of like set the stage for them.
Right. Amy is really sweet when she finds out that he's been taking vitamin E. She says, that's so sweet. So Amy says it's sweet. Alan makes a joke about Depends diapers. And Cory and Sean walk in the kitchen and they're going to play basketball. And Alan's like, dudes, where are you guys off to? Like trying to be cool because he doesn't want to be old. And Cory's like, we're going to shoot hoops. And Alan's like, you want some actual competition? And he gets up to join them and he like tosses the magazines back onto the table. And in the process of doing that, completely throws out his back. And he's just like frozen. He was like, honey, what are you doing? Alan's like, nothing. She's like, what's wrong? He's like, I can't move. Am I the only one not moving? And then we're in the classroom next. And Finke is being a fire teacher, and he's walking around the room, and he's like, thus the Transcontinental Railroad spelled the end of the Pony Express. Mail service was faster, more reliable. Letters no longer needed to be passed from hand to hand. And he starts grabbing letters out of the students' hands because they've been passing notes in class. Not necessary anymore with the cell phones, unless you're taking the cell phones away, which then they just open up a Google Doc that they're all shared on, and then they start sending each other messages that way.
Oh my God.
Yep.
Again, no avoiding it. They're going to find a way. Kids always find a way.
Yep. So Finke starts reading these letters out loud, and he's like, these just in. Miss Wilder wants to know what Miss Harrington thinks she should wear to her party. Opens the next letter. Miss Harrington wants to know what makes Miss Wilder think she's even invited. Oof.
Wow. She gave me PTSD.
Right.
She is a mean girl. I was like, she played a really good mean girl.
She totally did. She killed that role because I was angry at her.
Yeah, I
was
so annoyed at her. Yeah, she sucks.
Ugh. So Miss Wilder is like, I'm not invited. And Miss Harrington's like, we'll just see. Okay. And that was like her signature thing. Okay.
Yeah. Ugh.
Then he reads the note that Cory was going to send. And he says, Mr. Matthews wants to know, is this going to be a makeup party? And then Melissa says, well, sure, Cory, you can borrow my lip gloss. And then Cory goes, out, not up, a make out party.
Have you ever had a note confiscated while you were passing it and read out loud?
No, because I've never passed notes because I was a good student. What about you?
I have. I'm trying to remember what it said, but we were juniors in high school, can you believe? And it was in Mr. Whalen's class in physics.
Of all the classes, he was like the teacher that didn't teach me any physics and just told stories all the time.
I would say I remember equally the number of stories to the amount of physics that I learned. He did give great advice to us, though. He said, if you make it clear in your college application that you want to major in physics, you will get into every school that you apply to. I think he was right about that. But I was like, well, I don't want to major in physics, but I love that advice. So pretty sure I was passing a note to Kevin Singh.
Oh, Kevin. We love Kevin. He's our friend.
I'm pretty sure that whatever I wrote was probably some indie song lyric that I thought was really cool to say. And he snatched it.
Very strange world.
And he snatched it and read it out loud and was like, "What the hell does this mean?" And I was like, "You don't understand, Mr. Whalen."
Because this is a podcast, they did not see that you swiped your bangs across your forehead and put them behind your ear. So I just wanted to
for Tracy
narrate that. For Tracy, she was emo. Actually, what would you consider yourself? Scene? Remember Scene? Scene was like a cross between hipster and emo for Tracy.
Yeah, like, yes. If I had to say like what I was closer to, probably Scene. Yeah. I would have probably said emo because I wanted to be emo, but it wasn't actually emo. I was definitely more Scene.
Yeah. I wonder where that word came from, but anyway, we can't go down that path.
Yeah.
So I actually laughed when Sean roasted Cory right after he goes, make out. And Feeney says, so it is. Mr. Matthews wants to know if this is going to be a make out party. And Sean just goes, not for him. That was so mean, but funny. Oh, the way he delivered it was great. So then we're in the hallway and Cory and Sean are talking. And Cory's all upset because he feels like he blew it and he's not going to be invited to Melissa's party. Sean goes, so Feeney cut you off at the knees. People will forget. You'll get invited to the next party. And, you know, Sean's being really super cool about it because the whole point in this episode is that he's cool. And he is. That's what I loved about the writing. I thought that Sean really was really cool. And we'll get there. But, like, Cory, I don't like the idea of labeling people as, like, geeks and cool. But, like, the only reason I supported it a little bit in this episode was because Cory's geekdom was coming from his, like, desperate desire to be invited to this party. And I do consider that to be kind of an uncool thing to do. Whereas Sean truly doesn't care that he's not invited to that party. And that is cool. Like, that's what I want more people to consider cool. You know, someone who's really confident and secure in themselves and doesn't need validation from others.
Yep. 100%.
And that's consistent with, like, the theme of this season, it feels, you know, just like Cory's Odyssey in episode 1 coming around to him realizing, like, I just have to accept that Harley's going to beat me up. And that's just who I am. And I'll let him beat me up and that'll be how it is. And just like once he kind of sinks into or reclines into his true self, then, you know, everything kind of happens the way it's meant to be. And he doesn't get beat up and, you know, it all works out in the end. So I like that seems to consistently be the writer's message to kids. Like, being cool is this.
Yeah. Like, you are uncool if you're trying to be cool. Just be yourself.
Yeah. And the way that the geeks are portrayed is awesome because they're just like, whatever. Like, we like each other and we're friends and we're happy. So I don't care that there's no one else here.
Exactly. They're being themselves.
They're being cool.
Mm-hmm.
I miss Minkus.
I know.
Yeah.
They have not addressed it at all.
Nope.
Maybe he's like joined the Mensa Society and went straight to college.
He probably did. So we get Harley again. Harley, Frankie, and Joey come back. And Harley's like, don't think I forgot about you, baboon. Don't think I forgot about last Tuesday. You sat in my chair in the cafeteria. And Cory's like, I'm sorry, Harley, I didn't know it was your chair. And Joey the rat goes, everybody knows that's Harley's chair. Everybody knows it's always been Harley's chair, and it's always going to be Harley's chair every year that he's a senior. Ain't that right, Frankie? And Frankie's like, what are you saying? I like my sister?
God, I love
What?
it's so good.
The way the writers clearly have such a vision that I think the actor that's playing Frankie is like kind of almost getting where they're going, but like hasn't quite figured out who they want him to be. Joey's like, no, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying you have a very close family. Hey, where you going? And Frankie goes, I want to call home. Frankie has quickly become my favorite character.
Oh my God. Yes. He's so funny. I've consistently laughed out loud at the things he says.
Hey, it's the guy from When You Was Gay.
I have to go ponder.
And Harley's like, Sean's like, is he going to be okay? And Harley's like, he's got a few issues. I, on the other hand, have one issue, and that's you, baboon. I don't like you. I look at your face and I want to hit it. Is that so wrong? And then a geek walks by and Harley says, pardon me, that's on my 11 o'clock. And then we just get Sean and Cory talking. And he's like, I almost wish he'd kill me this time. Dark. And Sean's like, how come? And Cory's like, then I wouldn't be here to be humiliated when I'm not invited to the party. And again, Sean doesn't care. He's like, you're sounding just a little bit whiny. And Cory's like, Sean, this is the first party of our high school lives. I mean, it'll divide our class into two groups, those who were invited and those who weren't, the geeks. Sean says, you're losing it, Cory. And Cory's like, yeah, I'm losing my whole future. No one will talk to me ever again. I might as well grow a hump and find a tower and ring the bell. You know what's crazy is like kids these days would not get that reference.
Really? Why?
Because they don't know what Hunchback of Notre Dame is.
Oh, they haven't watched it?
No. If you'll allow me to do a little tangent. Literary reference to the Hunchback of Notre Dame. The author is Victor Hugo. And James Clear in Atomic Habits talks about how Victor Hugo had a deadline for this manuscript he was writing. And he wasted a year partying and entertaining. And he only had 6 months left until the publisher's deadline. So he had his assistant lock away all of his clothes in a chest. And he only remained with a shawl. And so he had no option but to write because he couldn't socialize because he didn't have clothes. And the point that James Clear is trying to make is to give up a bad habit, make it difficult by redesigning your environment. We get this dramatic slow motion scene with music where Melissa is going through the halls giving out invitations to her party, and she's denying the invitations to some who are crumbling with defeat, and then she's off just granting others with the golden ticket, and they're just ecstatic. And so she comes over to Cory and Sean and she hands him an invitation. What are you laughing about?
Sorry. Oh, I need you to repeat that part. I'm sorry. I just got the giggles for no reason. I was trying to hold it in and it made it worse. Okay. Okay, I'm good.
So Cory gets an invitation. Melissa hands him one. And Cory is ecstatic. Cory goes over to Sean and he says, Sean, there's been a miracle. And Sean's like, yeah, whatever. Come on, let's go to class. We're going to be late. Cory's like, class? Oh, we don't need no stinking class. Our futures are set. We are high school gods. Come, let us repair to the gym and rejoice in our invitations. And Sean's like, it's going to be hard since I didn't get one. Cory's like, what? Also, the confusion that he has is like, I'm like, he was right next to you.
Yeah.
Sean's like, I didn't get an invite. Cory's like, no biggie. There's got to be a mistake. You're the coolest guy in class. You've got to be invited. Sean's like, yeah, well, looks like I'm not. And Cory's like, I'm going to find out what happened. And Sean's just like, forget it. And Cory's like, do you want me to ask her? And then Sean's like, yeah, would you? Which is great. Like, he's also human. And it would be the same way. I'd be like, wait, but why not though?
Yeah, why not? Yeah.
Like, I don't really need to be invited, but like.
But like, why?
Yeah. Like, why would you invite my best friend and not me?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Yeah. But also, like, he wants to hang out with his friend at this party, too.
Yeah. So Cory, I love Cory because he's so like effortlessly, he is dweeby, which I love, and it's so cute to me, but he also has like that confidence that makes him, he is kind of cool,
He's
right? Like
cool,
he does
yeah.
just go right up to Melissa and he's like, hey, like, and he just asks her, whereas like a
Yeah.
lot of other kids I think would be like too nervous
Yeah.
to go over and
To
confront
even
her.
make eye contact.
Exactly. And that's kind of what makes him, like, at the end of the episode, you know, Sean basically is like, you're not uncool. Like, you're not cool, but you're not uncool, you know?
You're just
and
you.
You're you. And I was like, yeah, that is Cory, you know?
Yeah.
That's why he's the main character. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So he asks her, you know, so he says, so you invited me to your party. And she's like, what do you want? And she's the worst. Cory's like, I think you made a mistake. And she says, no, it's not a mistake. You're really invited. And Cory's like, no, I mean about Sean. You forgot to give him his invitation. She goes, no, I didn't. He's not invited. Okay. And then Cory goes over and breaks the news to Sean. He says, right, look, so from what I gather, in the last 3 seconds, everything in the world has changed. Sean's like, what do you mean? And Cory says, I'm not sure. I mean, Sean, you're much cooler than I am. At least I thought you were. Sean goes, trust me, I am. So he's like, I really didn't get invited. And Cory's like, unless it's a big surprise party for you. That was cute. And Sean's like, I guess it's just one of those high school mysteries, like how janitor Bud lost his eye. This janitor has so many ailments.
He does.
Missing limbs and eyes. I'm just like, what's left of him? Cory generously, at least, you know, says like, well, what are we gonna do, rather than just being like, all right, I'm going, see ya, you know. He's like, well, what are we gonna do? And Sean says, you're gonna go to the party. And Cory, good for him, says, I'm not going to the party that you're not invited to. And Sean says, don't sweat it, just go. I'll grab a burger at Chubby's.
Chubby's. I literally said that out loud when I heard it. I was like, oh, Chubby's. To which I said, have they referenced this before? I feel like they might have, but maybe not. And then we actually saw Chubby's. It was the first time we see Chubby's.
We got 2 new sets in this. We got Melissa's basement, and we got Chubby's.
Big budget.
Anyway. So Cory is like, no, you won't. And Sean says, why? And Cory says, because I'm cool now, which means I run with a very influential crowd, which means all I do is pick up this telephone, pull a few strings, and get you invited to the party. And Sean's like, who are you going to call? And Cory says, well, normally I'd call you. So then we're in the cafeteria, and we get this conversation between Cory and Turner that starts off with Cory trying to get something out of the vending machine. And Turner teaches him that he's got to like kick the vending machine really hard to get something out of it, which, as a teacher who a few days ago was stern with students who were hitting the vending machine to get something out of it because they were damaging school property, and that's not the way to handle that. Turner being like, no, you got to kick it harder, was like, I was like, oh, I felt like Feeney being like, all right, earring boy, like teaching them to
because that's literally what Mr. Feeney said, that you're vandalizing school property.
Literally, when he came in and said that, I was like, oh, okay, I guess I'm Feeney in this. Because yeah, I definitely handled it the way that Feeney did and not the way Turner did. So Turner doing that, I thought that was a good, as a teacher, I was like, yes, I fully understand what the writing intention here is. And it's to show Turner as like on the same page as the kids and like leveling with them and kind of, you know, just being the cool teacher that Cory feels like he can relate to and open up to. So just like a subtle writing move that Susan Estelle Jansen did that I was like, that was great. Like in 2 seconds, I was like, oh, yes, it makes sense to me that Cory opened up to Turner, you know, just by having them have this 2-second interaction first. And I'm just constantly in awe with how much they do in 22 minutes. So Cory opens up to Turner about the fact that he's been invited to a party that his best friend has not been. And Turner's interesting because he never gives like flat out advice. He just kind of like hints at things and then later kind of implies that he was always giving him the advice that was the right advice. Cory tells him the situation. He tells him that Sean doesn't mind that Cory is going to the party, and Turner's like, you believe him? And Cory's like, I want to believe him. And Turner's like, because you want to go to the party. And Cory says, yeah. And Turner says, sounds like you made up your mind. What do you need my advice for? Cory's like, look, you're new here, so you wouldn't know this, but I never really actually thought of myself as cool before. And he's like, so now people are saying I am, and it kind of makes me feel good, you know? And Turner's like, well, you should feel good, Matthews. Just don't get carried away by what other people think. So that is his clear piece of advice, which I thought was excellent advice. Again, like the advice that the writers seem to consistently be like drilling into kids, which is great. And they're not doing it in a way that feels like it's so obvious that kids like don't want to actually take the advice. Like I think the writing is doing it in a really good subtle way where it's coming from the really cool teacher, or it's just like coming about naturally because Cory is just being himself, and we like him.
Yeah.
And Sean too. They're both themselves, and that's what makes them cool. So when Turner says, you know, just don't get carried away by what other people think, Cory's like, of course not. Why not? And Turner says, because that wouldn't be cool. So then we get this little scene in the living room where Alan's on the couch because he threw out his back, and Finke comes in and he's got this like tracksuit on and he wants Alan to come to the gym with him.
Yeah, I thought that whole scene was really odd. I think it was odd that Mr. Finke was suddenly trying to go to the gym and also trying to go with Alan, and then aggressively trying to pull him off the couch when he threw out his back, which I've never thrown out my back, but I know people who have, and like you don't mess with people who threw out their back.
It's
like
real.
They are bedridden.
Yeah.
Don't touch them. and then I'm like, okay, Amy's like desperate. How long has his back been out that she's like, I'm going to leave you because I'm sexually unfulfilled? Like, how long has he been on that couch? This poor guy.
You know, oh my God, I think I was seeing it through such innocent eyes that I didn't even think of her being like, I'm going to leave you for the next thing that moves, as like her being like, we need to have sex now. Like I thought of it more as I'm losing attraction to you because you're so quote unquote lazy, even though he's bedridden.
No, I think she was trying to.
Wow. Wow. Damn, this episode.
Yeah.
Wow. All right. Well, I mean, I hear you on like why is Finke involved, but I think that the writing made up for it by him being like, I'm a teacher and I get like $50 off if I like bring another person.
Yes,
and I was like,
yes.
I feel that as a teacher.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. This is when we get the moment where like Amy's trying to get Alan off the couch and he's like, oh. And Cory comes in and he's like, Mom, Dad, it's not even dark yet. I was like, Amy's like, upstairs, do homework. And Cory's like, sorry, it's Friday night and there's a party out there that's just calling my name. Boy, girl, don't you know? And Amy's like, oh, well, excuse me, Wilt Chamberlain, but what party is this that I don't know about? Cory says, Mother, Father, there's a social event tonight at Melissa Harrington's. Might I attend? I thought this was so cute. Alan's like, well, let him go, Amy. And Alan says, I'll pick you up in 5 hours. And Cory says, you will? And he says, yeah, I'm leaving right now. And he's like starting his very slow process of getting off the couch. We finally get this scene. I've referenced this scene in a past episode, I think.
Yes.
Right?
Yes, you have.
I remember
this.
I was like, oh, finally. So he's getting ready for his makeout party. So he needs to have minty fresh breath. So he's gargling mouthwash in the bathroom and then he swallows it. And he's like, he takes it like a shot. Like he's like, ah. And Eric's like, what are you, crazy? You swallowed that? Cory's like, I'm taking no chances tonight. I want this stuff in my stomach on reserve. And Eric's like, why? And Cory's like, because I'm going to a makeout party. If I burp, minty fresh. Eric's like, actually, that makes sense. And then when Eric asks where his deodorant is, Cory says, in my pants. I was like, what do you think is going to happen if you're in 7th grade?
I tell you, 7th graders are a little more frisky than you think.
Oh
you know, and you and I were not like that in 7th grade. So it's a little hard to imagine, but I know that that is what happens sometimes.
That was a lot. Because truly, the reality is kids will watch that and be like, oh, I should be ready in 7th grade to have someone put their hand down my pants. Like, basically. That's what that is implying is going to happen, right? Like, and I'm just like, I don't that's crazy that they got away with that. But anyway, and then Cory takes the spritz of his rampaging stallion cologne.
I think rampaging stallion was my word of the day because there were no other words of the day. So that's what I'm going with.
When Cory comes downstairs, Alan's like, what's that smell? Oh my God, I'm rotting. I was like, oh my God, how bad does it smell? Cory's like, relax, Dad, it's just my rampaging stallion. What do you think? Alan's like, I think if the party doesn't have adequate ventilation, you're all going to die. So they're heading out to the party. Amy's going to take him to the party, and she's asking, like, all right, are we picking Sean up on the way? And Cory's like, nope, he's not coming. Amy's like, is he sick? Cory's like, nope, he's fine. He just wasn't invited. Amy's like, why not? Cory's like, I don't know. I guess he wasn't cool enough. And Alan goes, but you are.
That is so something Dad would say in that moment.
a little light roast.
Yeah.
I love it. And Cory's like, look, I don't make these decisions about who's cool and who's not. I just got invited to a party and I want to go. In fact, Sean said to go. Alan's like, I hope you know, Cory, that it's not cool to forget who your real friends are. Solid. Cory's like, look, just because I'm growing up doesn't mean I'm going to change. Okay, Alan?
Even I was like, what?
I know, I was like, oh. And Alan tries to like grab him, but he freezes because his back is out. And Cory has fun with like being out of bounds. He's like, oh, you can't touch me. So then we're in the basement of Melissa's house. And Melissa is looking like a mean girl, leaning against the wall, sitting like a goddess who's being fed grapes from a vine and just like couldn't be bothered at her own party. And Cory's there, and like a bunch of like the quote unquote geeks are there, and it's just them. Cory is so sweet. He goes right up to Melissa. This is what I mean. Like when you don't realize you're uncool, you just have like a natural confidence, and then you kind of are a little bit cool. So Cory's like, yeah, he's like the coolest one at the party. Like goes over to Melissa and he's like, hey, I'm Cory. And Melissa goes, good evening, Cory Matthews. Welcome to my home. I'm so happy you could be here. And she's like yelling up the staircase. Cory's like,
I assume she did that because she wanted her parents to hear that?
yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So Cory is confused and is like, you're welcome. So who's here? Who's hot? And Melissa's like, no one. And Cory's like, hey, Alvin. Hey, Simon. Hey, Ubaldo. He goes, yep, the competition is pretty thin so far. Looks like I'm the coolest guy here. Melissa goes, yeah, rub it in. Cory's like, I'm the coolest guy here. Oh, no. Echoing, it's a geek party! But they're just the first guys here, right? I mean, the rest of us cool guys are coming later, right? Melissa's like, I wish. And then one of the geeks comes over. Excuse me, there's a bug in the onion dip. Melissa's like, I know, I put it there. Okay? I was like, why? Because you want them to eat a bug?
I was like, girl, there's no way you touch that bug and put it in that dip.
And Cory's like, you know, I'm looking at your party guests and I can't help noticing that there's not exactly a cross-section of the student body. Melissa goes, my parents went over the guest list and took off all the cool guys. Cory's like, so that's why you didn't invite Sean. And Melissa's like, well, Sean was the first person off the list. See, because mom and dad think that guys like Sean are a little unpredictable. I thought this was such good writing, and I wondered if the writers had an experience with, like, have you ever been in a situation like this or experienced anything like this?
Yes, 7th grade. I started to hang out with certain kids more, and I remember specifically that, like, I was invited to hang out with them somewhere, maybe at somebody's house, and I remember specifically mom being like, you're not going to that house. And I was like, why? She was like, you're not hanging out with those people. I was like, why? I did not understand it. And I don't remember exactly what she said, but she alluded to the fact that, like, these are not the type of people you should be hanging out with. And I think I was just too young to understand it. But I think she was right.
Yeah.
But, like, she saw something I didn't. And I don't know if she saw it in the kids. She just saw enough in the kids that she was like, no. Or, like, the parents, maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know. But the kids that I was going to hang out with definitely were a little bit more mature, so to speak.
Yeah.
I wasn't ready for that.
Yeah.
And I didn't know I wasn't ready because I was not mature enough to get it.
Yeah. Good for mom. It's like the older I get, the more I'm like, oh, we think we're so fixed, but we're not. And it does matter the people that you surround yourself with. That's actually something in Atomic Habits. See, when I asked you that question, I was asking more like, do you remember a situation where like somebody wasn't allowed to invite like the opposite basically of your situation where they were in the cool group themselves, so their own friends weren't allowed at their own party because their parents didn't approve of their own friends?
Yeah. No, that's never happened to me.
I thought it was a really great plot because I was truly invested in, I was like, why? I could not conceive of a reason why Cory would be invited to this girl's party and Sean wouldn't. Like I was not smart enough to figure it out. And then when it all came about, I was like, oh my God, like that's totally believable. And what an interesting plot, you know? And
yes.
then
Did your head go to where mine went though? Right before the reveal of why they weren't invited, I thought it was a mousetrap.
I did too.
Yes, I thought that she was purposely setting them up to
Yes.
embarrass them in some way.
Yeah, when like Turner and Alan, I thought one of them was going to be like Cory, like, come on.
Yes, people were kind of alluding like, that's suspicious.
Yeah.
You know? So I'm glad that's not what it was. It was something I wasn't expecting, which is cool.
Right. Yeah, Melissa says, like, my parents didn't let me invite those people because they're unpredictable. And Cory's like, well, it's a good thing you sneaked me in without them knowing. Phew, I hope they don't catch me. And Melissa's like, Cory, my parents love you. They think you're a nice young man. And Cory goes, oh, yeah? Let's see how nice they think I am after I do this. And he like grabs her and embraces her and he gets like really close to her. And it looks like he's going to like passionately make out with her. And Melissa goes, Cory, what are you doing? And Cory goes, I don't know. I'm way over my head here. And he just lets her go. And Melissa goes, I knew it. You're totally PA. Cory's like, PA? And she goes, parentally acceptable. Cory's like, that's bad. Melissa goes, well, it's as bad as it gets in high school. These are the things that I, as a kid, would have been like, okay, got it. Note taken. Don't be parentally acceptable. Not that I actually changed or I was totally parentally acceptable, but just, yeah. I just
you were the parent.
I was the parent.
Always.
I was. So yeah, I just wonder like how many kids around America like watched that and went like, okay, gotta be bad. Like can't be nice to parents, can't be respectful to parents. Like, you know, Melissa's friend basically comes down and says there's this other party happening. And Melissa ends up leaving her own party to go to another party and like leaves Cory and the geeks like in her basement, which I was like, wow, she's the worst.
She's the worst, actually. The worst.
And her parents are going to kill her when they find out.
For leaving. What?
Can you imagine if you threw a party for your kid and your kid left to go hang out with the people that you didn't want them to invite to the party? My kid would get nothing ever again.
For life.
I'm never doing anything for you ever again. So the conversation he has with the geeks is the one that I was talking about earlier, where they're all like very secure and happy with each other. But the transition into that is funny because it kind of seemed like they were talking about playing spin the bottle with each other. So because Cory goes over and he's like, what are you doing? And they say, we're practicing spin the bottle. And Cory's like, but there are no girls. Heteronormativity. And the geeks are like, but there might be later. And Cory goes, oh, guys, I don't think any girls are coming. And one of the geeks is like, oh, well, we don't mind. And then the other geek says, we're all friends. So I was like, oh, you guys are going to make out? That's so progressive of you. And then another one was like, we like hanging out together. And then another one's like, we're very comfortable with what we are. See, that too, he says, we're comfortable with what we are. And I was like, gay? Like,
gay?
Like,
gay?
Is that like, where are we going with this? And he goes, parties come and parties go, but you always have your friends. And yeah. And the final line in that scene is, that's why Ubaldo is so cool. And again, we get like the definition of cool. It means to be secure in who you are and to have good friends and to do right by them and be loyal to them, which Cory obviously didn't do with Sean.
Mm-hmm.
So Cory learns his lesson and he goes to Chubby's, and we get another Harley, Joey, Frankie moment. Harley's playing pinball and he gets a high score, and Joey's like, "That's some score, Harley. That's the best score I ever seen. Nobody's going to beat that score for like 1,000,000 years. Ain't that right, Frankie?" And Frankie goes, "What are you saying? Sometimes at night I like to write poetry." Joey's like, "No, I'm not saying that. Actually, I think that's kind of cool. What are they, sonnets?"
I love that he knows sonnets.
I know. Harley's like, "I got to get some better adjusted guys." Am I imagining this, or did Harley turn around and see Cory, but then Turner said, "Hey, Matthews," and it kind of like overpowered Harley so Harley wouldn't pick on Cory?
Yeah, Harley noticed the teacher, and so he walked away, but he was coming after him.
I love that pecking order. And I love that in 0 lines and in 1 second shows how cool Turner is.
Yep.
Right?
Yep. That is a great point. Speaks to the theme of being cool versus uncool versus just being yourself. It's like Mr. Turner is effortlessly cool.
Mm-hmm.
Way cooler than Harley.
A little bit?
Oh my God, are you kidding me? I still have a crush on him. What?
He's like really cool. He's like really
He's
smooth.
so cool.
Yeah. I do like Turner. Actually, when he opened the door in the last episode, when he came over to their house and Amy opened the door, I was like looking at Amy like, "Did you see this man?" Like, because I could see him with Amy. Like, and you can just like see 2 people together. Like, I was like, "Oh, Amy, like Alan might have some competition," because like I see you guys. Like, you guys seem like you would have chemistry. Right?
That's why she said, "I'll leave you for the next man that moves." She's hoping Mr. Turner will come in the door again.
Interesting. Yeah. So, although I think Alan can't be beat. I just think Alan's so handsome and awesome.
Oh, he's wonderful.
He's wonderful. Yeah. So, and Sean's sitting at a table and there's like all these people around him. Cory's like, "Oh no, I got to get out of here." Turner's like, "Why? I thought you were here to see Sean." And Cory says, "I was, but remember that decision thing we talked about? I kind of made the wrong one." And Turner goes, "Yeah, I could have told you that." Cory's like, "Then why didn't you?" And Turner says, "Well, you don't listen in class. You gonna listen in life?" Cory's like, "But you're the teacher. I'm supposed to learn from you." Sean comes over and Cory's like, "Don't worry about me, Sean. I'm just leaving." And Sean's like, "Why? I got an order of chili fries, extra gravy." He's like, totally chill. Like, does not care that Cory went to this party. Cory's like, "Nah, you're too busy with those other guys." Sean's like, "What other guys?" Cory's like, "The other 1,000 guys at your table." Sean's like, "So then make room." Like, he's truly acting like he does not even notice that he's cool.
He like didn't even know there were other people around him.
And Cory's like, "Sean, they're going to see you talking to me." And Sean's like, "You've been acting really weird since you got invited to this party. You don't want to hang out with me anymore?" Cory's like, "I'm a geek." And then the whole place goes quiet. And then he just looks at the mob and he's like, "Oh, you didn't know?" Sean's like, "Cory, what are you talking about?" Cory's like, "I'm the worst kind of geek. I'm a geek who didn't know he was a geek." And Sean's like, "Cory?" And Cory goes, "Yeah." And Sean goes, "Do I hang out with geeks?" Cory goes, "No, that's why I'm leaving." Sean goes, "Come on, you're my best friend. Gotta loosen up." Cory's like, "You don't think I'm a geek?" Sean's like, "Of course not." Cory's like, "You think I'm cool?" Sean goes, "Of course not." Cory goes, "Then what am I?" And Sean goes, "You're Cory. I'm Sean, just like it's always been. What else do you need to know?" Bravissimo. Wait, did you hear those Smartless episodes where they were just randomly yelling Italian words? Yeah.
I never cared for.
Sean says, "I'm not cool." And Cory says, "Yes, you are, Sean. Look around you. I mean, this is the cool party. You are the center of the cool party." Sean's like, "This is the cool party?" Cory goes, "Yeah." Sean goes, "Let's bail." And Cory's like, "You're trying to show me that it doesn't matter where you go, because if you're truly cool, wherever you go is the best place to be, right?" Sean goes, "Cory." Cory goes, "Yeah." Sean says, "Shut up." Cory goes, very cool thing to say.
He wasn't wrong.
You're wrong. We get a little, button on the episode where essentially, Amy comes down the stairs and opens her robe, and she's got this like silky white slip on, which was a lot in my opinion. And it like brings Alan back to life. He's like, oh, I'm back from the dead like Lazarus. I'm healed. It's a miracle. I can walk, Sister Amy. Hallelujah. And like follows her up the stairs and uses the little like grabber thingy that he was using as like a walker. And he just follows Amy up the stairs, apparently to have sex with her. He's healed. And that's the end of the episode.
Wow, under an hour and a half. That's amazing. Go us.
So what are your takeaways?
I'll start with like thinking about how I kind of would have acted, or the way that I thought about being cool versus uncool when I was a kid. Obviously, I understood like the pecking order of like this is the cool crowd, this is the not cool crowd. I always felt like I was somewhere in between, but I never said to myself, oh, I really want to be with them. Like, they're really cool. It was kind of like, those people over there are cool. Like, I'm not going to mess with them. And I felt like, I always felt super comfortable in myself. I feel like I've always been kind of Cory outside of this particular episode, where I was just like, I'm just Julia. I'm just who I am, But that's not to say that I've never felt like self-conscious. At all ages, we feel that way. We feel like we have to like fit in to a degree. And so I think my takeaway is, there will be times in my life, especially when I'm feeling like not confident in my capabilities, in my surroundings, that I feel like I need to like conform. And this is my reminder to just like always be myself, because that's always gotten me through everything. I will always be more successful if I'm just like exactly who I am, even if I mess up, versus trying to be something that I'm not.
I completely agree. My takeaway is more for my students, that it's important for them to learn that lesson, and it's important for me to be patient as they learn that lesson, because I can get very like frustrated when I see a kid just not being themselves or trying to fit in with another group. Like, I can be a little snippy, like, dude, what are you doing? Why are you talking like that? Like, what's going on? So I need to like be patient a little bit, but also continue to like send the message in like a Turner way, where it, can actually maybe hit in a way that's not, just me bullying them into being themselves, essentially, because I have no patience for it. But I'm like you, because I never felt that. I never felt the desire to be like those people that I could clearly see kind of sucked, because unfortunately a lot of the cool quote unquote kids, as was depicted in this episode, are rude. Like, that girl Melissa is rude.
Unhappy.
And unhappy.
And exactly. A lot of them in that group are just trying to one-up each other. So they're aware of like, this is the pecking order within this group of cool people, and I'm trying to be at the top. And that's all of that is so uncool.
Yeah. My takeaway is like to remember to be patient with the kids as they're navigating, coming around to being themselves. Cool. Well, that concludes the episode. Thank you so much for listening. We didn't really have a word of the day. We had
Rampaging Stallion.
So if you like what you heard, rate and review us. Leave a comment. We don't get a lot of comments. Start a conversation. We'd love to talk to you. We have an Instagram. It's called Boy Meets Wine Podcast. We're also going to start posting these as videos to YouTube. The name of the wine we had today, it was actually a Brut. Which, did you actually talk about what a Brut was?
Nope.
Cool. Maybe next time. Finks. Something we got off the Winc website. Maybe try a Winc order. Yeah, Winc. Want to give us some sponsorship? I don't know. Theme song credit goes to Julia Rosa. And next week's episode is season 2, episode 6. Who's Afraid of Cory Wolf? Virginia Woolf reference. Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf reference as well. Cory goes through teen changes, thinking something evil is happening. Grammatically, I don't like that sentence, but here we are. Bye!
Bye!